Gonna turn on this thing. Yes, we're live. Hashem, Ashreinu. Good night, everybody.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Zera Shimshon class live from Efrat. We hope that the tefillot of the Zera Shimshon and request that everyone who learns his tefillot, learns his Torah, continues to see success, hatzlacha, bracha, in everything that they do, and everyone around them, those people, their family and loved ones, should be filled with bracha and hatzlacha, and we hope that through the merit of the zchut of the learning that we have, not only helps protect us personally, but also our community and our soldiers who are all over the fronts, in various fronts, and also Bezrat Hashem, the continued learning to this week as well as last week, and should be included to my Liana Shema from my father, Arav Aram Ben Eliezer, and also our generous donors as well for sponsoring the food. So this week's Parshat is Parshat Vayera, but we're going to actually do a Torah, a piece of a Torah from Parshat Bereshit. Interestingly enough, it's directly connected to Parshat Vayera. It just happens to be in the context of Parshat Bereshit. So if we go to Parshat Bereshit, Drush 9, Drush Tet. I don't know what page it is there, but we have to go to Sefer Bereshit.
Vayera, Drush 9.
No, I know. Go to Parshat Bereshit.
Okay.
Daf Kaf Zayin. Okay. So the way what we're going to do is it's in the context of talking about the Zera Shimshon was asking questions about the various midot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not going into much. He doesn't go into too much of the depth of the midot. But what he does is, we're about middle of the way. The Torah starts where we're going to start is Omnam. It's about Daf Kav Zayin, and then you should say, let's see.
Chav Ches.
Let me see. There we go.
Oh, Lamed.
Lamed.
Yeah, Lamed.
Yeah, Omnam. All right, Omnam. So right there where it says Omnam and Lamed. So we're going to do that, but right before that, I'll just give a little introduction. He's talking about the attributes and the midot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're not going to go into that part really, but he's going to basically what he says is that Hashem, as we know, created the world with din and rachamim, these two extremes, if you will, and Avram Avinu introduced the idea of chesed. So he mentions that Avram Avinu was the first one to bring the chesed into
Bereshit.
Bereshit. Yeah, it's interesting. There's an interesting Torah from Bereshit that's related to this week's parsha. So what he's saying is that Avram Avinu was the first one to really bring in the concept of chesed, unlike din and rachamim, which are really like opposites of each other. Chesed kind of sits right in between, and in renewing and bringing this world, and through Avram's kindness, Hashem was able to kind of balance out the world, and really Avram was the first person to really do that. So with that little bit of introduction, we know that in this week's parsha, the end of this week's parsha, the Parshat Akedah, is Aliyah Shvi'it, the last Aliyah of this week's parsha, and we have there, and towards the end of the parsha there, or towards the end of the section there, the Aliyah, it says, so Hashem says to Abraham, now I know that you are a Yarei Elohim, a God-fearing person, since you did not withhold your son from me, and your son, your only one, from me. Right? So now we understand that the pasuk there, we understand the question that we have, a couple of questions there, is one, he's going to say, is Omnam Adan Yesh Ledakdek, is Maya Zchuto Shel Avraham Lo Diad Badavar Zeh. What merit was that effective? That hold on, yeah, sorry. So he said, why was Avram Zchut that he was affected in this matter that he had Chesed? But Agav Zeh, he's saying, is what was Avram so unique that he was the one that said that he gets to introduce the Midah of Chesed? We know what he did. But we say, why does Avram get to be the one? It could have been anyone before him, or could put anyone after him? Why does he get to be the one that really is the first, the first person? So he says, V'agav, and in this connection, Yuvan ha-pasuk, then we'll understand the pasuk, Ki ata yadati, ki rei limata v'lo chasafta b'cha yechicha v'meni. Once we understand Avram's attribute of chesed, we'll also understand this whole pasuk that we have the question with, and he says, the kaseh, ma'u ki ata yadati. What does it mean, now I know? V'alo kama mitzvot v'asib tovim asa Avraham, right? So he says, we know how many mitzvot Avram Avinu did before the Akedah. Right? Everyone talks about his chesed, that he opened up his doors, that he went out to save Lot, that all these things. So why do we have to say now? Why does Hashem say, now I know? Dude, what was going on up until now? Right? In Lkovod to Hashem. So he says, Hello, Kamam, right? So he says, V'tirutzim mefarshim yadua. He says there are many explanations we know. And when he's mentioning this, he really means that we look at the Mefarshim, but the Midrash, one of the Midrashim, he doesn't mention it here, but one of the Midrashim that's very famous about it is that every one of the times that Avraham Avinu did some sort of act, the Satan sort of had something saying is, oh, well, he didn't do it fully, or he made some sort of excuse. But then, when Hashem told Avraham, go sacrifice your son, and put him on the altar, and Avraham went all the way through with it, Hashem said, the Midrash says that the Satan had nothing to say. There's nothing there's no comeback to that. That's the Midrash. Anyway, so besides that Midrash, he says, "V'od mahu mimeni dekamar kra." Why does the verse have to say? Why does the pasuk have to say mimeni, from me? Meaning Hashem Hashem is saying is, now I know that Avraham, you are a God-fearing man, and because you didn't spare your son for me or to me. First, I have to understand why for now. Right? Why is the word for now meaning ataya dati? And the second one is mimeni from Hashem. We don't need the word for mimeni in this pasuk at all. Right? Why did you say God-fearing person? We should have said what we should say. Ohev Hashem. Right? Hashem. What's the whole point of the nisayon? Is to prove that Avram loves God, that loves Hashem. So why would we say yireh, fearing God? We should actually say the opposite. We should say he loved God. So we're going to answer all those questions in this short little Torah. That's again is in Sefer Breshit, Parshat Breshit, Torah Daf Lamed in the blue versions. So he says, Ella lefish Avraham haya kulo chesed. Avraham Avinu, we know, was completely devoted to chesed. B'hametiv l'chol ha'olam hayiti yachol lamar shema she'Avraham haya tzadik l'gabei HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo haya rak mitzad ha'teva. Right, so we could say that maybe Avram's chesed, he was naturally gifted with that act of chesed. There are people like that. They're just people who are just completely born with this love and this kind of direction of chesed, and they just everything they do is just chesed. They have it completely comes natural to them. But one could say that maybe Avram has no special quality. He's just daf lamed, I believe it is. It says omnam. Okay, we're about the second paragraph after that. It says Ella. So it says God Hashem. One might say, meaning not Hashem yet. We're saying Avram could what? Oh, now? Okay, sorry.
So next time, no.
I'm sorry, I apologize. So it says one could say that Avram was devoted to Chesed. We could say that maybe he just had that natural talent for it. And therefore, it's nothing. Right? He just had a very good natured temperament. We know people like that. They're just good people. They're not. There's nothing. They're nice. They're kind. That's his nature. He just didn't know how to act against his fellow man. He didn't know how to act against his natural. We see these people. We see people all the time. They just mean well. That's all it is. Right? So what Zera Shimshon is saying is maybe Avraham Avinu was just one of those people. He just didn't know how to act badly to other people. He just, just a nice guy. Right? And if he's a nice guy, so what's so special about the fact that he does chesed? That's what he does. Right? And all the more so how is he going to act against, if he can't act against poorly or he can't act negatively against his friend, how is he going to act negatively against Hashem? Right? It's his just natural nature. It's his nature, not natural. His nature is to be kind. His nature is to be, to do things for others, and his nature is to serve Hashem. That's his, So if that's the case, maybe he just didn't. Maybe he didn't do it out of fear. Maybe he just did it because, he just didn't know how. He didn't have a bad bone in his body, so he just kept on going. That was his thing. So therefore, so the Zera Shimshon says maybe if we follow this path, follow this thought, then maybe if we just follow that path, that train of thought, then maybe Abraham doesn't get all the credit. He shouldn't get all the credit he deserves, or he's getting, because what? He didn't do anything. The guy's he's naturally talented to be kind to people. He's caring. He loves everyone. He doesn't want to hurt anyone, and therefore, if he doesn't want to do all those things, so the same thing with Hashem. He doesn't want to do any of those things to hurt Hashem. So he's just going to be following his Torah mitzvot because he's just that person. And if that's the case, then why are we giving him so much credit? Right? With the opposite, we should be saying is okay. So that's his thing. Right? But we want to highlight people in the Torah. We like to highlight people who are unique. They have some sort of special quality. But if we're saying, or the Zera Shimshon is saying, if we're suggesting that he isn't so special, then there's got to be something that is special. Otherwise, why would he be mentioning it? Right? Now he's okay. So he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu lachen. Therefore, you have to understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu nisa oto b'nisayon Yitzchak shehu maaseh achzariyut la'av l'shchot et beno. He says this is why Hashem tested Yitzchak with this tested Yitzchak and Abraham with the Akedah, because it is absolutely an act of, as we know, it's an act of absolute cruelty to even consider the idea of sacrificing your son, right? When Hashem sees the amount of speed and alacrity or passion with which he wakes up early in the morning, he goes out there and he does it himself. He makes sure that no one of his servants are there to he's doing everything. He's doing everything he can. And when we see this, then Hashem says, so he says, we now see that it's not just, the Akedah was not just not another test. It wasn't just a line of, Avram did all these nice things along the way, so this is just another, this was the seal. This was the one that Hashem says, now I know. Why do we say now I know? I say now I know because up until now, people could have said, maybe, you're just a nice guy. Now he says, this is like the proof for everyone, right? So he says, and it shows that he also had a fear of Hashem that was planted. Hashem was not only telling Avram, commending him for what he did, for the love that he demonstrated, but rather the entirety of everything that he did up until now. Meaning Hashem was saying is two things at the same time. Hashem is saying is not only do I give you credit for what you just did for the Akedah itself, and he's saying is you went beyond what I was almost like what Hashem was expecting. But not only that, now I see your line of like where you were going for this whole entire time. That everything else you did beforehand was also showing me that these are just small building blocks to get to here. Otherwise, you could have said, and that's, by the way, the Zera Shimshon follows this train of thought in many places. He says that, and last week actually we learned about Sodom and Amorah. We learned that the fact that, what did we say? I'll tell you exactly what we said. We said last time that, they said that when it was in relation to Sodom and Amorah, not Sodom and Amorah, was it it was Sodom, maybe it's Sodom and Amorah. I have to look at it. Where is it? Yeah. So he says here, we learned that Sodom, Anshe Sodom, were cruel. Not only did they not want to, I don't remember exactly where it is. Oh, right. So he said, this is not the one I wanted to, not the one I wanted, but either which way is that, right. So either which way, we learned that last week with regards to Sodom, they were so cruel that their actions were above and beyond what they should have. They disregarded. Actually, can't remember that. I can't find it now because usually I'm pretty good about this. But either which way, the train of thought. This is another time he shows a train of thought. In this case, it was about Sodom and Amorah. And another time we talk about Bilam in Parshat Balak. We learn about the idea that Bilam, his whole intention, the way he proves there, it was about Balak and Bilam. And Bilam said, that Balak offers Bilam all this money. And Bilam says, it's not about the money. And then he says, and then Zera Shimshon shows that it's not only not about the money, but it's also about his entire actions. We're about this line of thought of that a person's actions consistently across the board show where their thought process is and what they're doing. So even if sometimes, if we get to a little bit later, even if sometimes we steer off, but we are consistently in the right direction, then we'll be in a good place. So now he says. So this is what he says now. It goes based on what we just said. And now we say, Shara Kadosh Baruch Hu, Sha'adam Karutz Michomer. He says, now he brings it back into what we were talking about his act of chesed. He says, now that Hashem sees that Avram, who is a human being, is Yodea Lichboshet Yitro, V'lasot Lifamim Chesed Lifamim Achzariyut. Right? What do we know about Avram Avinu? Avram Avinu sometimes acted with complete and utter chesed, and other times he had to be, he had to stand up for himself. He had to know how to defend himself. He had to know how to defend others. He had to know how to be a normal person. He had to do things that were against his nature in some ways, because a person who's kind, you don't think that they have a bad bone in their body. You don't think that they know how to be intense or, forceful or even fight. Like those people are usually not their characteristics are not the same. So he's saying that Hashem said, he sees that Avram, who is a human person, man of flesh, who can do both. He can be both. Not only can he overcome his Yetzer Hara, but he can also sometimes he acts with complete chesed, and he works with complete chesed, and his goal is chesed. And then sometimes he can work with being he's stern, and he works with cruelty, is the way he says it. And then he says, they seem to be opposites. And he says, Mikol sheken melech malchei amlachim she'achol yitnaheg ben midat hadin uben midat hachesed k'mo shekatav asifte kohen beparshat ki tetzei b'shem midrash Rut ki mitoch shehu mishalech et ha'em hi holech v'doegim b'tzarat al kenav v'benah. So what happens? He says that now Avram taught Hashem a lesson. Kivyachol. Avram said that his personality we know is chesed. Avram's chesed showed Hashem that you don't only have to work with din and rachamim. That's what Avram is saying, is that Avram's chesed, his ability to say is sometimes it's okay to work with chesed, and sometimes it's okay to say, I got to be forceful. I have to hold my ground. I have to go out to battle against people that I shouldn't be going out to battle for. That's not my style. But I have to do it sometimes. And next week, Parshat, when Sarah dies, he goes out and he knows like a businessman, right? Like, he does all these things along the way to show that his personality is not only chesed. It's not only, and this is what the point of the Zera Shimshon in this piece of Torah is, he's trying to say that Hashem was ruling the world, if you will, in din and rachamim. And all of a sudden, here comes this person who is, who I created, right? He's a human being, and he has, not only is he naturally a person of chesed, but he knows how to act both in chesed and in rachamim and other midot, if you will. And so Hashem says, wait a minute, now the world can work. Now the world knows how to operate, because it's not just black or white. It's now there's this area in between that is like the ideal scenario where people know they are generally, if you think about it, like if you want to think like a Jewish person is generally trying to be kind. They're trying to do chesed, whatever they can, whether it's money, whether it's nice acts of chesed, help, whatever it is. We try to be kind, right? Sometimes we get upset, sometimes we get, we feel like we're being punished, sometimes we're doing good, but generally we try to follow a certain path, and that's Hashem was ruling the world in this way or that way, and all of a sudden this person comes in and says, no, we can work generally chesed, and that's why I believe that when we look at Avraham Avinu, he mentions at a point, I'll get to in a second, but I believe this is why one of the things that we see, and the Ramban mentions it in the beginning of Sefer Bereshit, he says, Maseh Avot Siman Levanim. What did the Avram instilled within us, this act of chesed, and now all of a sudden you see that Jews throughout the world are kind to other people, right? They're helpful. They try to do what they can to help, whether it's a meal, whether it's money, whether it's give a ride to someone, whether the idea of these kind of things is not something that is naturally to other people. Like again, I'm not saying that there aren't people around the world that do it, but mostly the Jews are the ones you'll see that have like these amazing chesed organizations, multiple versions of it, and they all do amazing things. And Avram was the one who said, we can do both. I want to do both. I want the world to run on a sense of care, and I'll run out in the middle of the heat after 3 days, and that's one of the reasons, many of the reasons, but there are many reasons, but one of the main reasons why Avram went out on the third day is one is the famous Rashi says because he was in pain to show how much love he has, but the other one is to show us that we should be doing it even when it's uncomfortable for us. Those are the times that it counts more, if you will, right? And that's one of the things that I forgot who said it. That when Avram did that, Hashem said, "Oh, now I see." Another now I see. You see these lists of things, and it's not these big acts that he did. Besides the Akedah, there are not a lot of big acts that he did that you say, "Wait a minute, what's so special?" But you see a lot of these small acts count, and even the things that we say, "Wait a minute," the guy went out to make his own food. He went to shecht his own cow. Those aren't like amazing things, but the Torah puts so much emphasis on those things to show us how important they are to be machnias orchim, machnis orchim.
The Akedah is just like so out of.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think part of it is to teach us that
I got a voice in my hand. Go.
Right. I think that's
1 kilo. Something. This is like Adkan.
Right. So that there's two. One of the main, I guess, kind of ideas or trains of thought is one of the reasons that it comes in this week's in the Parshat and comes to teach us is exactly that. It's so uncomfortable. It's so unrealistic that the love that Hashem has for Avram's love for Hashem was so deep that even he's willing to do it. Get to the point where you're at the point, right? You're at to that level. I heard something very, very, very powerful beginning around this week's Parsha, around last year. Okay, so anyway, last year, a neighbor of mine, whose son is was in Gaza at the time. He still is. Now he's in Lebanon. He said, we say this tefillah. Most people say it either every day. We hear the parsha, whatever it is. And he said that used to be. It used to be when before this war, we used to say it. This is something Hashem said to me, and saying this is proof that you don't. This is proof that it's proof of proof that you really believe it, that you trust me. Proof that you love me. Hashem saying to Avram. Now he said something that was a statement of fact. Right? What is the statement of fact? Atayadati. Now I know. Okay, it's a fact now. Now he says it becomes a tefillah. Now I don't want you to. Hashem. This father is saying about his son. He's saying, Hashem, I don't want you to sacrifice my son. Think about what I was like sitting there. I was like, that's it. Like that was the most powerful statement. Like a father saying that to about his son. He's like, now I say it with so much more intensity. And that's not only a statement of fact. Now I'm asking Hashem. It's now a tefillah. I've just turned a statement of fact that Hashem told about his son, about his child, and his own thing. He's saying, now I want this to be a tefillah. Hashem, please don't. Anyway, so what's the point here? So we're getting. We'll review quickly this. We're in Parshat. Yes, we're in Parshat Vayera, but this Torah is actually from Parshat Bereshit, in the middle of Parshat Bereshit.
How did you find this? It's very matim.
Yeah, it's very matim. It's very matim. You have to know, when you study the Zera Shimshon and study other things carefully, you find things, little hints. Anyway, so the Torah is on Daf Lamed of Parshat, the blue Sfarim, Daf Lamed and Lamed Aleph, and it says Hashem wants to know. Trying to understand Hashem's midot of chesed and din and rachamim.
Where are we in Bereishah or Vayera?
No, we're going to skip out. I'm just reviewing. So for those people who came late,
Great.
So he said, excuse me. So we're questioning why was Avram so unique, and that he was the one who kind of brought chesed forth, and also why did the pasuk in this week's parsha it says, "Now I know that you are a Yareh Elohim." And because the pasuk says that because you withheld your son from me, the pasuk could have read just as fine without saying the word from me, mimeni. So the Zera Shimshon asked two questions: why does it say ki ata, now I know? And the other one is why mimeni? Besides the mefarshim, the famous mefarshim is that the famous midrash is Rashi, Rashbam. Many others say that the reason why he says atayadati is because the midrash, based on the midrash, it says that. The Satan had no words for when Hashem gave this test to Avram, the Satan had nothing to respond. Every other test that Hashem gave, the Satan had some sort of, kind of way to like weasel and saying, oh, he's not so special, oh, this, that, the other thing. This one, the Satan had no words.
Right.
Anyway, so he says, so the reason is that Avram, we could say, he starts with a certain direction. The Zera Shimshon says, maybe Avram Avinu was one of those people who's just gifted with being naturally good, naturally kind. We know those people. It's just one of those people that, no big deal for him to be a nice person. It's just, that's it. That's who he is. And if he's nice to people, then of course he'll be nice to Hashem. It's no big deal. And if that's the case, then why does he get all the credit? Right? That's his question. Right? So he says that that's why Hashem really tested Avram. He says, this test, which I mentioned, is like the ultimate test. We all know it. It's the ultimate test of cruelty, right? And he says, when Hashem sees that not only did he do it, which is one thing, but he did it with such zrizut and passion. He wakes up early. He does everything he can to really do it the way it's supposed to be. So it says that not only did he do it, but he shows everything else that he did in the past, all the other things that he did, all the other acts, were kind of building up to this. So it's like I said before, the Zera Shimshon has this direction that he mentions several times in different places about how a person's actions, not only here, but in the time that we see it, but other actions that they might have done, characters in the Tanakh, in Chumash, in different times. I mentioned Bilam and Balak. There's also last week's Parshat. You also mentioned about Sodom and Lot. That basically it shows that it wasn't just this one act. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was Avram's consistent methodology of being kind, and the fact that and his love for Hashem was so great that he said, now I see that everything else that you did was just a smaller version of what you really the love that you have for me. And then he brings a interesting thing, and now he says, Hashem says, or the Zera Shimshon says about. Why does Avram merit to be the person of Chesed? This is something that I found very unique. He says it's like this. He says Hashem was up until now ruling the world. We know that Rashi in the beginning of Sefer Bereshit mentions that the world was created with din, right? So he said din. So for everything Hashem is like black and white. It's din or rachamim. There's not really much in between. All of a sudden this person comes in called Abraham, comes in and says, Hashem, we have to be kind to people. We have to be nice to people, but if you want me to, I'll go to be a soldier. I'll fight. You need me to go, I don't know, what else? You want me to break up with my brother because even though my brother-in-law, whatever it is.
Or push away Yishmael.
Like, you want me to do those things? I'll do it. That's no problem. I can be that guy. I can be the tough guy too. Right? Usually the guy who's the soft guy, who's the guy who's like, kind and warm and, welcomes everyone, is whatever. He's usually not the guy who you're going to bring to battle. Right? But Avram, all of a sudden, Hashem shows him. He says Hashem sees that Avram can do both. Hashem sees that Avram can be Chesed. He goes, opens the door, runs after the cattle, does what he's got to do, and then next week he starts becoming a businessman. Start negotiating with the king of the land, right? So Hashem says, "Oh, now I see. Now I see that Avram Avinu was not only did he show his love for me from all the other acts that he did, but now I'm also seeing that the world can function not only in black and white, but rather in this area in between that really shows what we should be doing. So that way you can do chesed, and that's your guiding light is chesed. And then all of a sudden around it, if I have to be forceful sometimes, if I have to be cruel sometimes, I have to be, a staunch businessman sometimes, I'll do it. That's what I got to do. And then he says, it's like similar, if he brings the mashal, and we mentioned, the Zera Shimshon mentions it in Parshat Kitetse, he mentions, when we have Shiluach HaKen, the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKen, when we have our commandment to, shoo away, or to fly, move away the mother bird from the eggs. So the Midrash there says, right? What happens when a person is performing the mitzvah? He takes away the mother bird and gets the eggs, right? But what happens to the mother bird? The mother bird is all of a sudden like, where the heck are my children? I'm crying. It's depression, exactly. He says, Rotzah laharoget. That's what the Midrash says. Rotzah laharoget atzma. The bird wants to literally go out and do it, who knows what. Mirov tzara. She's so asar. So the mother's anguish, the mother bird's anguish. The ministering angels say to Hashem, look at what this mother is doing. The mother bird, it's not like some human being. The mother bird is saying, right? If this angel is pleading for, he's in charge of the birds and he's asking for rachamim, so he says, should I not be? Hashem saying is, if this ministering angel who's in charge of the birds is being merachem for this mother, melech malchei hamlachim, all the more so should be merachem. How should I be merachem? I should be merachem on the fact that I should be merachem on rebuilding, on the destruction of the Beit Midrash. That's what the Midrash says, right?
Interesting point is that in Masechet Brachot it says,
right. Right.
Which is basically saying that don't rely on that as a reason for a chesed.
Right. So what exactly? So what he's saying here, what I believe that the Zera Shimshon's point is, one is that so he says, this is what happens is that Avraham Avinu was not only the person that we all say is chesed, but he actually brought it to he took it and drove it 100%, like fully and full on. And so the reason why Avram gets merits to be the one who's called the Isha Chesed is because he took a midah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the next degree, and he showed everyone what it means to love Hashem so much that sometimes, yes, my guiding light is Chesed, but sometimes I have to do other things. And Hashem loved that so much because he said, otherwise I'm going to be working. I build the world, I have to destroy it. I build the world again, I have to destroy it. It's black and white. There's too much going on.
But this is not something that would be acceptable to today.
No, that's it. So what I was thinking.
Say,
right.
If someone were to ever do achzariyut and say that it's in the name of God, then that
right.
would be.
So I think. First of all, there are people who do that. Unfortunately, that's unfortunately right. But
that was the book of Rabbi Lord Sachs of not in the name of.
Right.
So I believe in today's day and age. First of all, we see that the people who are know when to use their traits in the right way, right? Some people just are full on bulldozers, and those bulldozers often get pushback because people are like, you can't be so aggressive. Sometimes
like Trump.
Yeah, sometimes I didn't want to. I'm not going into politics. That's not my thing. But the point is, the idea is that sometimes you have to learn how to be soft-spoken, and you're right. Some people it comes across as being harsh, or it comes across as being too kind.
I think you're being right. I'm talking about being zealous.
Yeah, zealous, right? So zealous, not right.
Nice.
Yes.
I'm saying.
Right. So the real question then is, what is your underlying reasoning behind doing what you're doing? Because it could be that you're going to say is, well, maybe my underlying principle is personal attention, personal gain, and then you're really not trying to be nice and kind. You really just want to do something for yourself. So, so that's Torah 1. Now,
Powerful.
that's a very powerful one. Now let's see if I can find the next one.
Is this in Vayera now?
Yeah, this is in Vayera.
Guys, we're back in Vayera. Later on in the Sefer around Kuf Pei something or other.
Hold on one second, I'll tell you. Okay. So we're in Ot Tet.
Ot Tet is Kuf Sad. Kuf Pei.
Parshat Vayera.
Kuf Pei Zion.
Kuf Pei Zion. So we're in. Now we're actually going to be learning a drush from Parshat Vayera.
So it's just the same Tet and Tet. It's a good way to remember.
Anyway, so we're in. So now we're back in this week's Parsha. We know that one of the things that happens is. One of the things that happens in this week's Parsha is that Avram and Hashem start negotiating. Right? We know that Avram's trying to find. He says, God, I want to save the world. I want to do something that people before me didn't do. I want to daven for the people. I want the world. I want to save the world. How am I going to save the world? You want to destroy Sodom. I want to find tzaddikim that are there. 50, 40, 30, 10, whatever it is. Right? whatever the number is, he comes back and forth, right? And there's many people who say that one of the reasons why Avram was successful is because he said, "Anochi afar ve'efar," like I'm nothing, right? I'm begging from you, Hashem. I'm nothing. Who am I to ask? But can we find 50? Can we find 40? Can we find whatever it is? Something, right? I heard yesterday that one of the reasons I think after 50, Avram says, how about 45? I think it goes from 50 to 45, right? Abor Chamisha, Arba'im Chamisha. And they say Chamisha are the letters of Simcha. He says, can we find 5 people? Can we find 5 less people? Can we find anyone in the city that actually does something b'simcha, as opposed to doing something with such cruelty? Maybe we can find it. So he says, like, maybe that's the reason they weren't acting with simcha. They just were acting with cruelty. Anyway, so we have this idea of
where are we at now?
The Drush Tet in Parshat Vayera.
Page Kuf Pei Zayin.
Kuf Pei Zayin. Right. So it says here, Vashem Amar Amechaseh Ani me'Avraham. ואחר כך, ואברהם היו יהיה. הקושיה מבוארת, למה לא להפסיק בין פסוק זה להפסיק בפסוק, ויאמר השם זעקת סדום ועמורה. So he says, if we look in the psukim, it says, will I hide anything from Avraham? Right? And then it says, Avram will become a great and mighty nation. The question is, why does Hashem, in between those two psukim, it says Hashem, the zakat sdom v'amora ki rabba. Right? Hashem says, in between saying Hashem says, why should I hide anything, or should I hide anything from Avram? I love this amazing person, and and in between that it says zakat sdom v'amora ki rabba, and then right after that it says Hashem. He says what does he say? Oh, right. Then he says Avram hayoyeh. Avram hayoyeh and amechaseh ani me'Avraham. Psukim that should go together, and somehow the psukim are separated, and there's another pasuk in the middle, which is that the cries of Sdom and Amorah are great. So it says. Hold on a second here. 1 second. Okay. Yeah. I might have gone to the wrong thing, but we'll do it anyways. Okay, we'll do it anyways because I don't want to stop. So he says here. אמנם לפי שאנשי סדום רעים וחטאים להכנסת אורחים, ואברהם אדרבה היה זהיר וזריז בה, סלקא דעת רבינא שיהיו יכולים להינצל בזכותו של אברהם. So he says, is maybe we can explain it that because the people, we know that there was the Midrash, the Sanhedrin, Masechet Sanhedrin, Gemara Sanhedrin says that the sins of Sdom were that if there was a short person on the bed, they'd stretch him out, and then if they were too tall, they'd cut their feet, whatever it is. And Avram Avinu was the exact opposite of it. So maybe we could say that maybe the schut of Avram Za'achnas Orchim, which is the antithesis of what Sdom was doing, maybe we can say that he could, maybe save them. He could say, "I'm coming in. I'm going to do my schut. It's going to come in and save them." So he says before he comes in to do that. I'm just trying to find it. I might have taken the wrong thing, but okay. No big deal. I think I took the wrong. I chose the wrong one, but it's okay. Anyways, we'll keep on going. Minashamayim, exactly. So he says like this. So now the idea is that we have to, in order for us to.
It's a good sign when we run out of children.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. So he says the Zera Shimshon is now after bringing this concept of protect the tzaddik ability to the schut that we do. So he says like this. The Gemara. So he says okay. So he says that. So before explaining this Gemara, we have to understand that that people the merit of tzaddikim can indeed protect people who are less, on their level. So the Zera Shimshon is going to start by bringing a Gemara that talks about. It's in the Gemara in Tanya.
right?
What?
We say Zchutay.
Yeah, exactly. So he's going to bring a Gemara from Tanit that says that we know the famous story that Eliyahu Navi would come visit Abaye every Friday night, and he would also, but he only visit Rava once a year. And of course, Rava was a little annoyed with what was being said, and he said that Abaye, even because he would kind of say, well, I'm just as good as you, or they kind of back and forth, even though Abaye and Rava, we don't even know what that means. But he said, but at some point, Rava had a vision, and he said, "Don't worry, you'll be greater. Don't worry." Right. So even though he only got visited once a year, he was jealous. Exactly. The Parakim of the Tanya, even though I don't know what that means, jealous. Abaye Rava, But anyway, so it says, "Achaziu leil Rava." Rava was shown that he saw a vision. It's enough that your merits protect the entire city which you live in. In other words, what the vision we see is that that even though what happens is that Rava says is that your zchut was so great that you're protecting the entire city. And this is what he's going to try to do. He's going to apply it now to Avram, saying is Avram's zchut should in theory have done what? Protected the entire city of Sodom. Now he's going to get to that. And he says, Lkovod, Tzaddik Yesod Olam, right? We know the pasuk that Tzaddik Yesod Olam means that a tzaddik can literally be the foundation of the entire world. So what he's saying is that the relevance between, now we can understand, is Hashem says, should I conceal something from Avraham? Then you have this pasuk of Za'akat Sodom V'Amorah in the middle, and then you have it saying, Avraham Hoyo Yeh. So the Zera Shimshon is now saying, Lachen Amar Katuv, is right? It's not proper for me to hide something from Avraham. He'll also say that what? That Sodom agrees with me, it needs to be destroyed. Right? So he says is, of course, he will be a great nation. Right? We know the converts that he brought in. Baruch Avraham Shachlu Mishalom, right? Vim Kol Ki Yadati Asher Yitzaved Banav. So he says, Lasot Tzedakah Mishpat. So he's saying is that he continue that his what is he saying this? Right. So he's saying is that of course Avram is going to agree with me. He sees Avram's going to say is look, Hashem is saying is the world Sodom's got to be destroyed. Avram, I love Avram. How can I hide something from him? He's my best buddy here. He's the person who represents what I want in the world.
How are you connecting that he's going to agree?
How am I connecting? He says it. That's what he says. I didn't connect anything. He says it. Sarei gam b'vadai hu yaskimi me. That's what he says.
No, I'm saying
right. He's going to be so he's saying is that first Hashem says, should I hide something from Avram? Of course he's going to. And then you have this pasuk of Zakat Sodom V'Amorah. It's as if Hashem's saying to Avram, I love you. I can't hide anything from you. By the way, Sodom needs to be destroyed. Next sentence, don't worry, you're going to be a big nation. Now, if you think about it, when you read it, say it like that, Hashem's trying to, what they call the sandwich. The sandwich, you kind of add a nice compliment. Yeah, sandwich compliment at the beginning, compliment in the end. In the middle, we'll throw in something that's not so nice. Right? So that's what he's saying. Is like, Avram, don't worry, you're my best. I can't hide anything from you. By the way, the Sodom is, in an undertone, he says, by the way, I'm going to destroy Sodom. I know you agree with me on that one. And by the way, you'll be a great nation. Right? So he's saying, Hashem is saying that this is, even though it's a deal, exactly. So now he says, V'kasheh, shayalu akdim mishpat tzedakah, v'hi David yosef mishpat tzedakah, ela v'adai lo dienu shemachshevet Avraham itchila ita liten lahem Torah tzedakah, ach b'tnai she'ikaru, aval im lo hayu rotzim להתגייר, היה מתנהג עמם במשפט. So he's saying is, Avraham is constantly trying to find ways to do chesed, or try to give up of his chesed in order to save Sodom. Right? So even though Hashem said, oh wait, Avram's going to agree with me, Avram's saying is, no, God, you want to do something that I'm not okay with. You want to destroy them because their nature is against what I do, and my nature is to say what? My nature is to find a way, whatever I have to do. They want to convert, I'll convert them. Right? They want to do chesed or tzedakah, I'll give them tzedakah. Yeah, exactly. Right? He's trying to find a way. He's like, Hashem was, he's trying to do, Avram's trying to find some way. 50 tzaddikim, 45 tzaddikim, whatever it is. Avkan, k'shera'iti zakat Sodom v'Amorah rabba v'olechet, Ein od b'hem shum tikva, ani rotzeh la'asot imahem mishpat. Hashem says, so it's Avram, Avram is saying to Hashem, I want you to do both. I want to use not only tzedakah, or like chesed we'll call it, I also want to do mishpat. I want to have the justice. Uzchuto shel Avraham lo yo'il atzatzo, but it will not save them. Rak leman avi Hashem al Avraham. Right? That's what it says. In order Hashem might bring upon Avraham that which is right. Misha domeh Avraham yochal mizchuto. Misha domeh oseh maaseh Avraham lo yochal mizchuto. משום הכי הפסיק בפסוקים אלו ואין עוד לכמה סדר הבא פירוש אחר בפסוק הסדר נתת לה. So he's saying is, and then we'll get to that next week, what he's saying is that Avram, the reason why he broke it up is even though Avram is constantly trying to do chesed and trying to do good things, and he's constantly trying to act to help benefit the other person, or whoever the other person may be, even though he's trying to do it with chesed, tzedakah, umishpat, here he says, only a person who's similar to Avraham Avinu will be someone who merits to be saved, and that's why he puts it into the middle.
Meaning they're not really interested in.
Right, exactly,
I think
exactly.
that's the issue.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, yeah, that's why he says, "I am not." He would agree with Hashem to destroy because he only what he says here in the article. He says he didn't mean to just say that to give praise to Avram, but rather to address the argument that Avram's chut should save Sodom. You know what he's saying is
only save as much as they
right, exactly. In other words, he's indicated that although Avram displayed great chesed, right, any way that he could, he acted with strict justice to those who did it. Meaning that he would agree with Hashem. At the end of the day, Avram was trying to do everything he could to save them, and Hashem saying is, there's got to be a point where you have to say is they're not interested, right? And that's why you also look at the zakat's dom ki rabba, right? That's why that's even Hashem says, "I'll go down and see," right? Maybe I'm misguided, right? What do we learn from that?
That the dayanim have
right.
to leave Bonem.
Exactly. The dayanim have to go all the way down.
That was learned from Migdal Babel.
He mentions it here too, I believe. I think Rashi mentions it here too. And either way, the point is that the same point is Hashem says here, I heard down out here also. He says, I'm going to go down and see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misguided. Maybe the screams are not real. So he's trying to say, right? So he's saying is that Avram is trying to, Avram's argument is, Hashem, let me find a way. Let me convert them. Let me find 50 tzaddikim. Let me do chesed for them. Maybe the schut of my chesed will, kind of save the world. And Hashem says, no. They don't. Only a person who's willing, who wants to do chesed, who acts like you, they'll now save. But a person,
make sure that people know that they can donate to just one chesed.
Just one chesed. Yeah, we got it on the top.
Anyway, so he's saying. So, this was not the Torah that I was planning to do. I don't remember why this one came up, but Siyat D'Shmaya. Anyway, Siyat D'Shmaya. So what I wanted to say is, so we also want to make sure that we finish on time for Marav, right? Those want to say.
Yeah, we have a new thing of Marav at 9:45.
So what we'll say is,
It doesn't mean you should stop learning.
Right.
You have many years of shiurim now on the site, including, please God, a new long list of class from Mordecai.
Anyway,
Holtz.
what I think the two lessons I take from these Torahs is Avram's drive and Ava for Hashem, which is one thing, and he instilled within us, Jewish people, this love for doing chesed in any way we can, giving rides to people, giving giving a meal to someone, helping us. He instilled within us that trait that most people don't necessarily understand and don't understand why we would overextend ourselves to be uncomfortable. But if you look, the people who really overextend themselves in general in history, the people who overextend themselves to do something that's uncomfortable. There's a story I heard in I forgot what is the shir. Oh, so he said it was in Bnei Brak. These two daughters of a very famous Rav. Now I don't remember who it was. In Bnei Brak at the time, it was like in the late 70s, Israel was under, let's call it, rations, and there was very little food. And of course, the people who were learning Torah had even less food. And they were going out to raise money, but there's not a lot of money to raise. So they asked their father, these two daughters asked their father, can they go out to, they'll go around house to house, like, now your kids go house to house to, they do the shekel for, they flip the shekel. You ever do that? Anyway, so they go house to house, each person gets a little bit of sugar, a little bit of food, and then they'll cook meals for.
Yeah, they do that
Yeah,
sometimes.
so
And
they're
in the shopping at Rabbi Levi.
Right, so this was the women, these two young girls would go house to house and say, give us a little sugar, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then so the father said it's okay, and then at some point this Rav comes on and sees these two young women in the streets, and he says, "What's going on here? I don't understand."
Chaperones walking along.
Exactly, and carry bags. Well, anyway, so he says. So they explain the situation, and they say, "B'zchut of your willingness to go uncomfortably, go to each person's house, ask for them, and make the food, you will live a long life." Both of them, apparently, I don't know I'm not there. Both of them died at age 98.
Wow.
One of them, the older sister, died 3 years before the younger sister, exactly to the day. Hey Adar. Both of them died on Hey Adar. 3 years the difference. Anyway, so the point is that the point is that when you do those things, first of all, even though you know it's not easy to do, everyone has stories here that we've all done things that are not easy for us to do in some way, shape, or form, and those are the ones, even though you feel you're like, oh, that person's never going to thank me enough, or I never get the thank you that I deserve.
Can I tell you an easy one that we all do, but it's not easy to actually do it. All of us do, hopefully, whether married or not married, we have ex or whatever it is. Having a wife in our life or an ex-wife, we all have to go out of our comfort zone. Everybody.
Yeah.
How hard is it to listen?
Right. Oh, with my first wife, it's impossible.
There we go.
I only have one wife. I'm just saying. She happens to be my first, but it's impossible.
But the point is that the moments that we go out of our comfort zone in whatever way, shape, or form, and we don't say anything about it. In other words, you can't make a big deal about the fact that you went out of your comfort zone. You just have to go out and do it and say, this needs to be done right now. And those are the things that people remember. When you look through. At least in Sefer Bereshit for sure, you look at the things that were done by the Avot and by the people around them, the ones that, right, Avram could have easily gone back to Sarah and said, this is not right. You're about to say something, you're telling me to kick out my son, Ishmael, you're telling me to do that, how can you do that, right? Hashem says, Shema v'kolach, right? And he could have gone back and said, oh, well, whatever. No, he says, no, that's it. So the point is that the things that we look in Sefer Bereshit, if we look at Rabbi Sachs mentions at the beginning of Sefer Bereshit, the whole book is about taking responsibility or lack of taking responsibility. So we look at what Avram does. He takes responsibility for his action. He says, Hashem, I want to do chesed. I want to do it. So here we learn an important thing in both cases is that it was not only his nature to do it, but he's consistently doing it, and that his acts of chesed show us that he even gets to the point when the ultimate act of love for Hashem, which we know is the one of the Akedah, even then, that's the one that proves all the other actions that Avram did up until now were in line with Hashem, with his love for Hashem. And maybe Bezrat Hashem, we should all learn about our love, our commitment to Hashem by doing one extra step of maybe it's taking 3 extra minutes, saying is, for 3 more minutes, I'm not going to watch my phone. For 3 more minutes, I'm going to spend time with my kid. 3 more minutes, I'm going to say, Hashem, thank you so much. Put a little bit more kavanah into my whatever. I know that since in the last year, I can say honestly, the last year, the words Matir Asherim means something totally different. And take extra time, even when I'm the chazan, when I was the chazan for a year, I took time to Matir Asherim, I would pause. So just say an extra word, something to do, just to be a little bit more focused and a little show Hashem how much we really care about these things. Then Bezrat Hashem will have continue to see success and atzlacha.
What was the original?
Original what?
Which Torah was the original?
Bereshit. It was the one I originally wanted to do. That's funny that you ask. Let me just find it.
Yeah, we have a few more minutes.
I'm keeping notes and people.
Oh yeah. So I have to find
Join the Paybox group.
Yeah, join the WhatsApp.
To donate so that we can
Weekly
make sure
sponsor.
that we have more children.
He bought Jameson whiskey, so he's part of it.
Yeah, I'm saying that. I'm just
That's
saying.
pretty impressive.
Hey, I heard that there were no sponsors. So it's that's fine.
I have to find it. It's in Drush 9, but I thought it was the wrong.
I spoke with the Maggid Shir before the Shir. He said there were no sponsors. I said, okay, I'm bringing out. I'll bring a little bit of mashra.
We did have a sponsor. We had.
I think it's Drush 9.
The alcohols. We do have. Charles sends us the lachaims but there's always room for more.
Okay, I'll switch.
So, I mean, I think the main thing
Yeah.
is.
Membership list, membership.
No, it's just making sure that the kitty has enough so that we.
Yeah. Who wants the WhatsApp link? Can message me at 053-317-5856. That's on WhatsApp.
We have a pay box group and we have a kitty and then I pass it on.
Yeah.
A bucket, yeah, a bucket.
WhatsApp 053.
Alright, let's do this.
If anyone's not on it,
I mean, I'm joining now.
great.
053
317
317
5856.
I'll send it to you. I'll send you the piece.
56.
56.
Sorry.
Okay. That's not the phone, the WhatsApp.
Yo, no problem. I'm just calling it, but